tonight, after close to 2 decades, President John Mahama officially discontinues the long-running contract between the Youth Employment Agency and Zoomlion Ghana Limited, ordering future sanitation contract must go through competitive procurement. We have details as investigative journalist at the center of the cause for the termination. Mensah Azura is calling for more.
It appears the government officials who have handled these deals have been compromised and they are not prepared to do what is right. It's been late, but better late than never, and all the same, I'm grateful to President Mahama that he's taken this step.
We will be speaking to stakeholders of the sanitation sector to understand where do we go from where we are now. All of that here on Top Story, brought to you by Telecel, connecting energies. And we have more for you here. Do stay with us. Well, tonight, the plug has been pulled. After years of allegations of inflated payment and mounting pressure from civil society, the office of the president has officially discontinued the long-running contract between the Youth Employment Agency, YEA, and Zoomlion Ghana Limited. In a letter dated June 11, 2025, signed by the Secretary to the President, the Jubilee House ordered a full audit of all payment made to the sanitation firm after the contract expired. Now, the decision follows a petition by investigative journalist Mensah Azura sent on April 27, 2025, demanding the termination of the contract. Cabinet, we understand by this letter, has now ordered that all future sanitation contract must go through competitive procurement process. And my colleague Faustina Safo joins me live with details of this particular letter. Fausti, what are the details of this letter?
Well, indeed, Brace. Now, according to this letter dated June 11, 2025, just as you have said, the contract between the Youth Employment Agency and Zoomlion Ghana has expired and will not be renewed. The letter goes on to state that, quote, all payments made to Zoomlion after the contract expiration will be thoroughly audited. No further payments will be authorized without proper verification, and any unauthorized payments will be recovered. Now, the letter notes that Cabinet has directed that future sanitation contracts be subjected to competitive procurement processing. Now, apart from just having like a national contract where that individual will then cater for all the regions. Now you have the regions and districts given the authority to also bid for contracts and then award the same contracts to individuals who they deem fit. According to government, this will reduce the cost because then you have competitive pricing. Now they go on to state in the statement that with probable cost savings, the government intends to increase sweepers' fees to provide a more livable income. That's one of the key concerns raised by the petitioner, Mensah Azura, when he filed this petition to the presidency. He was concerned that the sweepers were being shortchanged by Zoomlion Ghana because of the cost of how much they were taking from government and how much they were actually paying to the sweepers. So that has been addressed in this letter. Now, when it comes to fumigation contracts, they end by saying that the contracts that have not performed satisfactorily will be renewed and reviewed and, where appropriate, terminated in accordance with the terms and conditions. And this, they say, they'll be doing it with advice from the Attorney General.
All right. Thank you very much. Now, Mensah Azura himself has been reacting to this development. He spoke to my colleague on the pulse on Joy News earlier today. He spoke to Darrell Kwao earlier on Joy News. Listen to this.
The major thing Zoomlion has often said is that, well, these people don't work for up to 8 hours a day. And we all know sweepers. The multimedia group has sweepers, cleaners, some of whom come very early in the morning. Before we come to work, they are gone to the ministry. That's how sweepers work. But the question is, if someone doesn't work for 8 hours, for which reason you think he or she should be paid 250 cedis a month, Why do you as a company take 600 cities to manage a 250 cities worth of work? And we are not looking at just one person, but you claim to have 45,000 and you take 27 million cities every month to supervise people who you claim don't work for that much. So this has been one of the issues. And also the company has been saying that the government doesn't pay every month. But it is instructive to note that this contract is such that if the government doesn't pay for 3 months, Zoomlion charges interest on the arrears the government owes the company. Last year, for instance, it charged 90 million Ghana cedis arrears. That's the interest on arrears. So contractors can sometimes be owed up to 5 years or so, but Zoomlion, after 3 months, the government must pay interest on the arrears. And when Zoomlion delays in paying the sweepers and the government pays this interest, it doesn't translate to the sweepers benefiting from this interest. So it has always been a mess. The assemblies didn't have control or don't have control over these contracts. Remember, they used to be very effective even doing this in summer concept. But when Zoomlion came, all of that was collapsed and they gave the contracts out. It appears the government officials who have handled these deals have been compromised and they are not prepared to do what is right because there have been enough pieces of evidence. Remember the JIDA report President Mahama commissioned in 2013, page 131 of that report, which is online, outlines the anomalies with this contract. So it is it's been late, but better late than never. And all the same, I'm grateful to President Mahama that he's taking this step.
This is still top story brought to you by Telecel Connecting Energies. Let me bring in Manasseh Azurawini because he has been at the center of this particular development for quite some time. He's been championing reportage on how this contract isn't one that a country should still hold on to. Manasseh, grateful to you for joining us. Now, do we know how much exactly this will save Ghana?
Well, it's difficult to say, but currently it costs about 38 million cedis a month to run this contract, and out of that, about 27 million a month goes to this company as management fees. And so, if you're looking at savings, if the third-party company is cut out, and I'm saying this because it isn't only Zoomlion. No third party is needed in this arrangement. All the districts have sanitation units that should handle this. So if the third-party companies are cut out, then it will save the nation 27 million cedis a month from or as management fees that would have gone out that the nation can keep. And that can be used for other things, pay the people better, provide machines for the assemblies to do their work, and all of that. So this is what we are looking at.
You followed this particular matter for quite some time. Set the basis, the background for us to all appreciate where we've come from to where we are today.
This whole thing started in 2017. I was with Joy FM. 2013. I was with Joy FM at the time, and I did an investigation titled the JIDA Scandal. This youth employment agency used to be the Ghana Youth Employment and Entrepreneurial Development Agency, JIDA. And that was the first time this contract featured in the news. After that investigation, President Mahama cancelled all the JIDA contracts. But this one survived. RLG, Zira Group, and all of those ones went, but this contract survived. Interestingly, this has been one of the worst. The MPP in 2016 held a press conference 3 weeks to the election and said this arrangement was fraudulent and President Mahama couldn't cancel contracts of that nature because he was personally benefiting from them. This was the MPP. Then 2017 January, Akufo-Addo started, and it escalated. So I have done quite a number of investigation stories and all of that till date, and it appears this has been the first time a government is acting on this particular contract.
Quite interesting there. But so now that the government is creating the indication or is well ready to say, I will not continue this contract, what do you expect government to do as it's set out to re-award sanitation contracts?
The sanitation contracts are many, and this is not the only shady contract that has been awarded to Zoomlion. This one has been running since 2006, and this contract is only for the sweeping, which every assembly in this country has the capacity to supervise. Note that before the Judah scandal, Zoomlion's sister company called Better Ghana Management Service was managing other models under the Youth Employment Agency. 70,000 people under this same arrangement. Today, the YEA is running models with a fire service and others without having to go through a middle person, a third-party company. Which means that this can equally be done. Together with the YEA, every assembly can run this contract. So we don't need a third party here. There are also some very fraudulent fumigation contracts that money is paid through the National Health Insurance. When hospitals are starving, when nurses are striking, money meant for health insurance is given to Zoomlion. The District Assembly Common Fund pays, and then the local government ministry also awards a third fumigation contract. All of these contracts are not properly executed. Some are not done at all, but monies are paid. And I think that is what the president addressed. We should follow to ensure that those fraudulent fumigation contracts are off. We don't need them. The contract that they should be thinking of awarding to any company is the one that requires lifting of the refuse to the final disposal site. As we speak, not every assembly has a waste track. So if they want to award those contracts through competitive bidding, I wouldn't have any problem with that. But I have visited assemblies in 2017 when doing the Robin Assemblies documentary. I went to Takwan Swahim, and they were better managing the areas they were controlling than Zoomlion. So if all these monies are retained, every assembly can buy its own track and collect its refuse. So that if you go to the assembly and the refuse is not collected, you can hold them responsible. Currently, the monies are taken from the assembly to pay Zoomlion directly. But with this cheapest contract, no assembly in this country has a copy of the contract. They don't know what it is about. Their monies are deducted to pay. Whether Zoomlion does the work or not, it takes payment in Accra. And when you go to ask them why the assemblies are dirty, they tell you, look, we don't even know the people who are supposed to sweep here. And there is evidence that the Accra Metropolitan Assembly wrote in 2022 the YEA to say that the sweepers and the Zoomlion, we don't see them. And YEA also said, well, we don't also know them. So the assembly is forced to take its own IGF to employ people to sweep and then pay again to Zoomlion for these people who were supposed to have done the sweeping.
Double payment.
So now it is expected that every assembly should be able to award its contract, or those that they can do, they should. So that when we want to hold them responsible, there wouldn't be excuses that a contract is awarded to ABC, we don't know about it, we only pay.
Okay.
So this is the expectation going forward.
But do you expect that there will be some prosecution, along the line, this particular matter?
To be sincere, the evidence that I have, a first-year law student should be able to jail some people under these contracts. But knowing what I know, the political will may not be there. If people are supposed to be held accountable, you will find people in this NDC and NPP administration who are likely to be jailed. When it has to do with Zoomlion, I think this is one of the boldest decisions that a politician has taken. That company and its businesses are shrouded in a lot of corruption, but I don't sincerely believe that there is a political will, either in NDC or NPP, to want to prosecute when Jospon or Zoomlion is involved.
But if you say it's businesses, you're looking at the whole Jospon group. Will you be fair to say that all of its businesses are engaged in corrupt practices?
I said there are a lot of businesses within the Jospon group.
Okay.
That I know that are engaged in these shady deals. I've personally investigated them.
Okay.
And when they sued me for defamation and I called them corrupt, I defended it and they ran away from their own suit. So I'm not saying this because I'm speaking with evidence.
Right.
And both the NDC and NPP, those who matter in governance, they know what I'm talking about. So there's evidence of wrongdoing.
Okay. I'm grateful
and
to you.
Both parties are implicated. So the point is whether there's that political will to prosecute.
I'm grateful to you, Manasseh, for joining us here. Manasseh Azura Awini is the investigative journalist at the center of all of this. He called and wrote to the president for the contract to be terminated. But I'm bringing the vice chairperson of the Sanitation and Water Resources Select Committee of Parliament, Joycelyn Kwashe, who's joining us. I'm grateful to you for joining us here. Now, you've heard this, that the president says the government will not renew the contract of Zoomlion. You've been in this committee for some time. But what should be the way forward as we try to get the country clean?
Okay, thank you very much. We on the Sanitation Committee carried out our duty as committee members and visited Zoomlion to assess the issues on the ground. We've gone to some communities, we've spoken to some stakeholders, and then have
Hello, do I still have you, Madam Kwashe? Hello.
Can you hear me, please?
Yes. Your line.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then have appreciated the fact that work done on the ground isn't the best. So, to me, I think the decision of the president to have a policy shift, not to terminate, but a policy shift with regards to Zoomlion's contract is the best interest of Ghanaians. Now that about 80% of the common fund is being transferred to the district assemblies, I think the best thing to do, as the president has initiated, is to allow the districts to manage their own sanitation situation. I believe it's going to create more opportunities for the youth as well. In this case, they'll be able to tell who is the right person to do what. It wasn't the best to say that work will be done in probably North Dai or Fando constituency, and then somebody up here is just receiving the money. It was so disheartening when we heard that over 900 Ghana cedis was being paid for work done, and the workers, those who are really doing the work, are given less than 200 or 200 Ghana cedis, and even this one was not coming on time. So from where I sit, I think the policy shift from His Excellency is the best thing that Ghanaians need now when it comes to sanitation.
So from what you saw, is awarding it at the regional level the best or at the district level?
Awarding it to the district level, I think, is the best, because I belong to a constituency, I belong to a district. So even if Zoomlion itself wants a contract, a sanitation contract, Zoomlion should come to the district, have a conversation with the district chief executive, the stakeholders, and then work will be done at the district level. Because the districts are going to be widely involved. It's not just a region. The districts make up the region. So it should be brought down to the district level.
All right. I'm grateful to you. But let me ask you this before I let you go.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've said that Zoomlion can go to the district level to bid for the contract, right?
To bid for contract if he wants to.
Okay. And when it comes to auditing, because the presidency says there will be auditing on payment done, what should be the focus?
Can you come again, please?
I'm asking that the president said there will be auditing of payment done. And I'm asking from you, what should be the focus, because you are on this committee?
Okay, so we are targeting the right thing to be done. They are paying people for work done. So if, for instance, my district chief executives and the right authorities decide that they are going to award a contract to so-and-so company, there should be proper monitoring to make sure that the people are doing the right thing and they are rightly paid for.
Okay.
Not just give a contract to somebody and then years to come, people are demonstrating on the streets saying that they have not been paid. And even when you go to the grounds, most of the people don't even come to work. So if there's going to be proper auditing, then there must be proper supervision to make sure that both parties perform the jobs well.
Okay.
Then there can be an auditing.
Okay, I'm grateful to you, Joycelyn Kwashi, for joining us. She is a member of Parliament and vice chairman of the Sanitation and Water Resources Select Committee of Parliament. I'll come to you, Collins Agyemang, but let me bring in Manasseh very shortly. Manasseh, so, I mean, if you look at it, should Zoomlion companies, or is it your expectation that they will still be able to get contract at the district level to execute in keeping Ghana clean? Do I still have Manasseh? Okay, I don't. Let me bring in Collins Agyemang. Collins, so Collins Agyemang Sapon is the procurement practitioner. From where you stand, what must be because we understand the subcommittee of cabinet will be drafting the procedure on which that these contract will be awarded. How should it be done such that there will be that open competitive bidding for companies to bid?
Okay, first of all, I'll ask why at that level? Because we have our Procurement Act, which says that we have the districts, you have the regional, you have the ministerial, you have whatever. So why at that very high level that they are coming out as to what should be done and all? Okay, so you said that you have, I read the letter. You said you have some expired contracts, which they are still working. Yes, that one is not wrong.
Yeah.
If I am an advisor to Zoomlion, let me be straightforward. My contract can end in January. But if I still do work and you accept, then I put in my invoice and then you pay me. That's fine. Zoomlion is a business entity. That's there. So now, if you are saying that any contract that is expired, you're going to terminate, you are not terminating. The contract has already ended. So you are not.
They didn't use the word terminate. It just says they won't be renewed. That's it.
Okay. So now, if it will not be renewed. Every contract and contracts such as we have something we call termination clause. Okay, that termination clause will tell you end of the contract. Maybe I may have some equipment with you. So you sit down and you do the exit management plan, which usually it is embedded in the contract. So they need to do, if they want to prevent judgment debts, they need to sit down with Zoomlion and now get the exit management plan. Because for all you know, Zoomlion bought some equipment for some of the districts, okay, for them to deliver the work. So you cannot just say that you are terminating or you are not renewing, and therefore, so let's say street sweeper. I bought it last week. I used 1 million to buy, and I'm delivering, and I'll be paying this street sweeper machine over the period. Then you come and tell me that because my contract has expired, you are not renewing. Okay, how am I going to get my investment in that? So we should be careful. We need to have proper exit management plan. I don't know. I've not read the contract. If it is there, they should be careful.
Okay.
Payment. Why will payment be an issue? Okay. I have delivered the work. Okay. I've delivered the work. I've put in my invoice. Is it Zoomlion officers that are doing the payments?
Okay.
Is it Zoomlion people? So we need to get people who are skilled in place. Do we even have proper project managers that can measure proper cleanliness when we are clearing maybe the gutters and the choke gutters?
Okay, so that's from the procurement point of view. Let me bring in Kwesi Baini, who has been a DCE before. He's a former DCE for Hunter West. So let me find out from you, once this is coming to the district, what do you think is the best way for them to approach all of this?
Good evening, Samuel. The problem at the district is worse than the problem that you'll find anywhere. Look, if you take Hunter West, for example, it's a big district with about 132 communities. The only communities that you can find a Zoomlion working with are Agwankwanta, Apawa, Bisco, Abra, and perhaps
Unfortunately, I think we've lost Kwesi Baini on the line there. We've lost him. Well, that's quite unfortunate there, but because I wanted to find out from you, once the districts have been asked to reward this sanitation contract, how should they approach it? But that will be all for us here on Top Story. My name is Samuel Brace. Up next is Newsnight.
Auntie T, abeg, fix me gobetete Ghana. No gari, no oil, no plantain, just beans then eggs.
Hey, brah, that be dangerous combination, no?
Problem no day. I feel handle am.
For Telecel, we the Bob say everybody gets what they like. That be why Made For Me bundles day. Based on your usage, if you get your own data and call packages, falla! Made For Me bundles like the way you the want town. That *530#, then buy Made For Me bundles today.
Telecel, connecting energies.
Couldn't sleep at night. Mosquitoes will be whining my ears, bugging me all night long. Till I got a remedy. Now I'll be spraying them away with holy insecticide spray. I go spray them away with holy insecticide spray. When I sleep, me dana mada with holy insecticide spray.
Holy mosquito coil, holy multi-purpose insecticide spray. Ghana Kron Kron. For bulk purchase, call 0302 681582. This advert is FDA approved.
Hearty congratulations on your 30th anniversary. We share in your joy as pace setters in the private sector media industry, and we acknowledge your immense contribution to national development, economic empowerment, and social good. At EcoBank, we have enjoyed a strong partnership with Multimedia Group over the years. Beyond news and current affairs, you have provided viable platforms for businesses like us to connect and engage with our customers and Ghanaians at large. As a leading bank in Ghana, EcoBank identifies with your values of leadership, integrity, and community, and putting customers and Ghana at the heart of everything you do. So as you celebrate 3 decades of excellence, all of us at EcoBank salute your exceptional contributions to nation building, community empowerment, and democratic growth. We are confident that your legacy will continue to inspire, inform, and elevate generations to come. We are confident your legacy will continue to inspire, inform, and elevate generations to come.
Happy 30th anniversary to the Multimedia Group. From all of us here at EcoBank, the Pan-African Bank. Yay!
If you have 250 Ghana cedis right now, it can do wonders for you. Chairman, Fabeji, it could turn your tears into joy in the Access Bank Fakitwabeji Kesiye promo. Madam, Fabeji, it could get you up to 50,000 Ghana cedis cash prize. Business owner, Fabeji. As a student, make transactions with your Access Bank card, and that could get you Spotify and Netflix subscriptions, PS5, iPhone 16 Pro Max, and more. This be out of class sense. Fabeji, you see what 250 Ghana cedis can do for you? And Gasakra. Fabeji. It's the Access Bank Fakitwabeji Kesiye promo. Deposit a minimum of 250 Ghana cedis and its multiples in your new or existing account and be on your way to winning a share of the 580,000 Ghana cedis in cash prizes and other amazing rewards. The more you deposit, the more your chances of winning. Promo runs from now to September 2025. This promo is in partnership with NLA on the Caritas Lottery platform. Terms and conditions apply. Access Bank, more than banking.
On Newsnight tonight, over 60 defaulting radio stations get 30 days amnesty following a directive by President Mahama to National Communications Authority to immediately restore broadcast services of the affected stations after they were shut down.
Mr. Speaker, a few minutes ago, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, the President, directed that the Ministry of Technology and Innovation work with the regulator, the NCA, to allow all the affected radio stations some additional time to correct the identified breaches within a defined time frame.
By the President, by the minority in Parliament, they're accusing the sector minister of heavy-handedness and political witch hunt.
This business of it happened yesterday, so we must continue this vicious cycle. Mr. Speaker, it won't help any of us.
Of license owners were passed by the NPP. So I am surprised that today the leader of the minority will stand in this chamber and say that it is unconstitutional and a violation of the Constitution.
We are live in Parliament where the minority, they've been addressing a news conference accusing the President of interfering with the NCA. Also tonight, potential breakthrough in nurses and midwives strike standoff following intervention of Parliament Health Committee.
We had a very fruitful deliberation with the nurses. The nurses are going to have a session with their council, and we are hopeful for a good news.
In business, agri sector workers expect strong performance of the sector to impact prices on the market and inflation from next month.
And in sports, with just 99 days to the kickoff of the expanded 48-team World Cup, Black Stars forward Christopher Babonsu is promising to help secure Ghana's place in the football's biggest stage.
And I also hear from you tonight, 055-11-11997. And we start tonight with the announcement earlier today that 60 radio stations were to shut down. In fact, many of them had already been taking off air. Imagine the shock and panic that they had to deal with when the communications ministry made that announcement that suddenly they were to go off air. Some indeed were already off air and have been off air all day. But just when it seemed like the plug was about to be pulled, including Asase Radio, by the way, and Wuntumi FM, President Mahama stepped in with a lifeline, a 30-day amnesty to pay their fees and get back on air. Now, the ministry's initial decision to shut these stations down sent shockwaves through the media landscape, with many questioning the timing and motives behind the move. The minority in parliament, they were quick to cry foul, accusing the government of heavy-handedness and political witch hunting. But President Mahama's intervention has brought a measure of calm to the situation. The amnesty gives the stations a chance to briefly settle their debts and continue entertaining and informing listeners. Communications Minister Sam George has been giving some more details on this on the floor.
1. FM stations that have been issued expiry of authorization letters for failure to apply for renewal. Number 1, Life World Broadcast Limited, operating in Ofinso on 94.3 FM. 2, Akpini Communication Limited, operating in Pando on 96.7 FM. The Ghana Institute of Journalism, operating in Accra on 97.7 FM. Press Express Limited, also known as Daily Guide, operating in Accra on 91.5 FM. Kantanka Media Limited, operating in Cape Coast, 92.1 FM. Chinias Empire Limited, operating in Tumu, 96.3 FM. Mr. Speaker, number 9, Wuntumi Multimedia Company Limited. Wuntumi Multimedia Company Limited, operating in Takrady on 101.3 FM. Number 10, Wuntumi Multimedia Company Limited, operating in Accra on 95.9 FM.
Well, he says the infractions of these 62 stations include operations that had gone on for years without a license, operation with expired licenses, among others.
The preliminary audit revealed over 600 active radio stations with frequencies, many of which were inactive, expired, or improperly renewed. Mr. Speaker, as of this morning, the NCA has commenced phase 2 of our regulatory enforcement following the broadcasting regulation frequency audit. This phase targets several categories of non-compliant FM stations whose operations contravene existing laws and regulations and includes the following. 1. Group 1, 28 FM radio stations who are currently operating with expired authorizations. Despite the NCA instructing these stations to cease operations in 2024, several of the stations have continued broadcasting unlawfully. These actions constitute a violation of Section 2.4 of the Electronic Communications Act 2008. Group 2, 14 FM stations, which were issued notices of revocation for failure to establish operations within the required 2-year period following the grant of their authorizations. These stations later requested technical inspections but have not completed the process and have continued to broadcast in violation of Regulation 54 of the Electronic Communications Regulation LI 1991. Group 3, 13 FM stations which applied for authorization to continue operating and have been issued provisional authorization but have not settled the provisional authorization fees in full. Mr. Speaker, without payment of these fees, their authorizations are invalid and their broadcast is a violation of Section 2.4 of Act 775. The last group of stations that we took action on this morning are 7 FM stations who have paid their provisional authorization fees but have not yet received final authorization in fulfillment of the technical and regulatory requirements under Regulation 54 of LI 1911. Mr. Speaker, spectrum is a finite and highly valuable national resource. It is a public good held in trust for the people of Ghana. Those granted access must therefore comply strictly with all applicable legislation.
Let me take it to Parliament now because there has been a reversal of what you just heard there from the Communications Minister. James Aveji is in Parliament for us today. And James, the Minister comes back to the floor with a reversal. Where is that coming from? From the President, from what we understand?
Well, Evans, if you look at the directive that has been coming for calling for the shutdown of this station, was purely coming from the National Communications Authority. They issued that statement. The minister, during this update on the floor of Parliament, then indicated to the House that right after that communication came in, he had a directive. In fact, he said a call from the President indicating that he is issuing a clemency to all of these radio stations to be given some time to correct these infractions, at the back of which he said he, the minister, in conjunction with the National Communications Authority, is giving them the 30-day ultimatum to do this.
Mr. Speaker, a few minutes ago, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, the President, directed that the Ministry of Technology and Innovation work with the regulator, the NCA, to allow all the affected radio stations some additional time to correct the identified breaches within a defined time frame. Those who fail to do so shall have their authorizations formally revoked under the law. In line with this directive from His Excellency the President, the Ministry and the NCA have granted a further 30-day grace period to all defaulting entities. Mr. Speaker, this is not the same as the arbitrary revocations and hefty fines imposed under the previous administration. As the current government, the ministry has also been instructed to waive all the applicable fines that should have been applied to the defaulting entities. Mr. Speaker, since morning, I have received calls from colleagues on both sides of the aisle notifying me that some interests they may hold have been affected by the ongoing exercise. Dear honorable colleagues, we passed the laws and have a high bar set for ourselves as honorable members of this august house. We need to lead the way with exemplary conduct. As a ministry and regulator, we are status agnostic and will be fair to everyone irrespective of ethnic, religious, political, or social affiliation.
Well, James, so why did this degenerate into arguments on both sides? Because you would expect that the minority, they were very happy with the first announcement of the shutdown. The reversal should please them. But it turned out that there were actually even more controversial comments on the back of this.
In fact, Evans, this, according to the minority, is because of the sudden change of the position of the now Minister for Communication. The minority leader, Alexander Fenyo-Markin, went into the archives of Parliament and pulled up the Hansard, stating word by word the position of the then ranking on the Communications Committee, Sam George, who is now the minister, who vehemently opposed this radio shutdown or media houses shutdown when it happened under the previous government, and the fact that this same person who is now the minister is doing same under a different government. He went on to state the fact that this kind of political ball games must end, warning that if power changes, some of these things, the positions taken by the government now, may itself under the next government if care is not taken.
Okay, so but what about the reversal announcement by Sam George? Because I know that the minority also addressed a news conference shortly after this became an issue on the floor.
This press conference was addressed by Honorable South Etiako Oyedo, who is the deputy ranking on the Communications Committee. It came as a surprise to us, especially with the issues he commented on, because according to him, they are accusing the president of interfering in the powers of, in fact, they described the president's directive as an interference in the powers of an independent constitutional entity, which is the NCA, who they believe is carrying out their legal mandate under the law. They feel that the president's directive is just a political play that is coming after they've been backlash to the government for doing what they term as a wrongful act by shutting down this station. They say that this was all planned out, and so it's just a play that the government is acting by the minister, the NCA issuing the directive for the shutdown, only for the president to come and claim that he's giving clemency to these stations. They think that this is an affront to the law. And so it becomes a bit confusing what exactly the minority's position is on it. They are condemning the NCA for the shutdown and condemning the president again for reversing this directive. And so it becomes a bit murkier what exactly their position is on the matter, Ivan.
James, thank you very much. And let me bring in Charles Oredu now. He is the deputy ranking member on the Information and Communications Committee in Parliament. He addressed that press conference on behalf of the minority. And Charles, your side on the floor, you condemned the shutdown. Then when it was reversed, you condemning the president for reversing it. Reconcile the two for me.
Yeah, Ivan, thank you for the opportunity. Ivan, clearly what happened today was that it was clearly so. Ivan, if the president knew that he was going to give
Charles, you have to forgive me. I need to get you on a better line because this line is stuttering and is not helping with the conversation. We'll get him back on this pretty shortly. We'll also be hearing from the Minister in charge of communications for the government, Felix Kwachifosu, who will join us pretty shortly. And I want to hear from you too, 055-1111-997. And as you know, today, Asase Radio was offered. They've been offered all day. And partly, in fact, was confirmed by the owner of the station, Gabi Asara-Chidako, that indeed they've been off, but partly because of some payments that they were supposed to make last year that they had failed to make, and that is why they've been off. As you know, there were other MPP-affiliated stations like Wuntumi that also went off air, and so you can imagine that the minority side would be raising the issues on the floor, accusing government of witch hunt. And thankfully, Charles is back on the line, and hopefully we can get him on a better connection that won't stutter. Mr. Redu, you were reconciling those two positions, one condemning the shutdown on the floor, the second condemning the president for reversing the shutdown.
So, Ivan, there are two issues. So one has to do with the decision today by the minister, and then emboldened by to shut down the 64 stations. So the point we are making is that one, what the decision of the minister to me today is far-fetched, because the 1992 Constitution provides for the freedom of the press and that of the media. We all know the role the media plays in our society, in entrenching and strengthening multi-party democracy and whatnot. If you look at the list, about 90% are community radio stations. And we know what they do. Joy FM, for example, is syndicated to a lot of radio stations across Ghana. A lot of people listen to news via syndication. So now if you shut down about this 90%, how are people going to find out or get to know what is happening in the country? More so, these radio stations are not committed. The other point had to do with the fact that they knew the minister couldn't have taken this decision without consultation.
But was it a minister's decision or an NCA decision?
Oh, the minister controls 100% the NCA. There's no way the NCA CEO can take this decision without the express direction or support of the minister. The minister controls the NCA because this is a monumental decision that has to be made. And then there's no way the NCA would have the balls to make this without the minister having a role. And then the minister cannot also make this announcement without consultation with the president.
I mean, but that's an assumption there. I mean, the minister can't take this decision without necessarily. This is not a decision you discuss in cabinet. Is it?
To shut down 64 radio stations in Ghana, it's huge. It's big.
Yeah, I mean, if they breach the law, it's automatic, right? I mean, it goes without saying. Why must you go to the president to say they've breached the law? I'm going to shut them down.
That I still, based on the sources that we had, that he consulted the president and then the president concurred. But then after the backlash, then the president quickly, okay, let me look good in the eyes of the people. Let me, be the father for all, and then quickly come out to say that, okay, I've given them clemency, and that's up to 30 days to right the wrong. And that's what we are against, because the president even does not have the authority to do what. So there are two separate things. One is that we are condemning that decision to ban the 64 radio stations. That one is separate. And then, now we are monetizing free speech in Ghana. We are monetizing free speech.
But if you
look at the number of jobs this radio station.
Yes, no doubt. I have a job here because the radio station is broadcasting live, and I'm talking to you. But you cannot condemn the shutdown of the stations, and at the same time, when the president reverses the shutdown, you condemn him for doing that too. I mean, let's assume what you're saying. Well, let's assume let's assume your assumption is right, that the president was in on this all along. He has reversed it. Isn't that what the overriding point should be?
If he knew he was going to reverse this in 3 minutes, why should he just up the ante by getting the Minister for Communications to issue this ban? That's what I'm saying. It's a well-calculated thing. They can sit down and say, okay, let's put this so that I'll come out looking good. That's what they are condemning. Even.
I mean, what is there to gain for a government to invite onto itself criticism and public backlash only to amend it hours later? What's there to gain? I'm trying to get why the president will agree to something.
Because I don't know. I don't know what they are seeking to gain by banning 64 radio stations, and then in 3 minutes they'll do a 360.
But isn't that why?
Because Ghanaians are smarter.
Isn't that why?
Read between the lines.
Isn't that why this assumption of yours is potentially flawed and only based on conjecture, which is not grounded in any evidence or fact?
Well, I have my sources. We have our sources. Then this is what we are being told. But even if I even follow your logic, then if they knew that they were going to reverse this decision, then why do you ban it?
No, that is your argument that he knew and they banned it still to reverse it so it makes the president looks good. And I'm asking you are a politician.
You've been in government before.
No, but you are a politician.
Before.
Oh, so
and in parliament, we have friends. We have friends.
So you say you've been
at the opposite side. We talk amongst ourselves.
You said you've been in government before, so this is what your government used to do.
No. If I say I've been in government before, it means I have the experience. I know what goes on in government. And I'm telling you that such decisions in government, there was no way a Minister for Communication would have just gone ahead to ban 64 radio stations without alerting the president. It's not possible. That's what I'm saying. I've been in government before. And then such a decision cannot be taken without alerting the president.
And finally, just before I let you off, you made the point that the president's decision to reverse is an interference with the work of the NCA?
Evans, clearly, if I should go by what you are saying, that the president didn't know, if I should go by your argument, that the president didn't know about this ban, then what powers does he have to reverse this decision, this ban? Because clearly he's not clothed with the power to give clemency or to pardon this before radio station.
Yeah, but
that's the job of the NCA.
Yeah, and if you're right, then the shutdown should have been enforced by now, because the president could not have reversed it, and this is something you fundamentally opposed to. So that gives you a situation where
separate issues.
You want to take and have it.
One, if I should follow your argument that the president didn't know about this, if the president didn't know about this, as people as you seem to claim, then he has no right mandating NCA and the minister to reverse this ban, because he's not clothed with any power
Charles, I'm grateful that you joined me. He is a deputy ranking member on the Information and Communications Committee. And Suleiman Abrahima is executive director of the Media Foundation for West Africa. Sule, where do you stand on this particular subject? I know you are fundamentally, ideologically opposed to any shutdown of a radio station, and that the authorities should use the remedies available to always correct any infraction, and that this should be an ultimate last resort. So it was shut down. It's been reversed. What's your reaction?
Well, Evans, good evening, and I should say that our position has always been that the best case scenario is to not have a situation where a radio station will be shut down. That does not, however, mean that we condone abuse of our laws. Laws are made for compliance. Laws are made for a better running of our society. And therefore, when people go against the law, it's not something that we can endorse. In fact, I think that is why we have the prisons, the police, the institutions of enforcement, and so on, all to ensure that our laws are complied with. And so there's no way I would justify any action on the part of frequency owners to not comply with the authorization conditions. I think it is good that the president has stepped in to say, let us give them some time to regularize and make sure that they comply with the laws for their frequencies that they hold. And I think that is something that we must commend. I find it quite difficult to understand the position of the MPP today. I was listening to the honorable member a while ago, and he was talking about the importance of press freedom, media freedom, and all of that, which is really great to hear from him. And I say it is great because it appears that it is only in 2025 that he may be appreciating the importance of press freedom or freedom of expression. Because under the MPP regime, several radio stations were shut down. And in that case, in that particular incident, some stations were off air for almost a year or more. And people went to court. We even went to court. And we did so at that time because they implemented that policy in a very discriminatory way. It was a very highly partisan action that was taken. Because quite clearly, there were stations that we, after our analysis, identified to have committed the same infractions that the others had been punished for, but were allowed to be on air. On this particular occasion, when the minister, the current minister, and the NCA, if you recall, a few months ago, revoked the licenses from 6 radio stations, we issued a statement to caution against this government towing the same line as the previous one. I remember the minister calling me and indicating that, look, they are as fair with the process as it should be. And in fact, he mentioned that one of the stations that had been shut down was actually owned by a colleague MP from the same party. So our issue is compliance must be enforced at all costs, but it must be done transparently. And I think that the president's decision to give a clemency for regularization is something that is positive.
I'm grateful that you joined me with your thoughts, Suleiman Abrahima, Executive Director of Media Foundation for West Africa. Let's get some clarity on this whole matter. First, the shutdown and then the reversal. Thankfully, we can speak to the Communications Minister. Sam George joins us on the line right now for a brief clarification on the matter. And Mr. George, the MPP minority accuses you of facilitating a PR gimmick in cahoots with the president simply to make him look good, that he was in on this all along. He has put you up to this to announce a shutdown, and then he will come in as a hero saving the day, reversing it, and then he looks really, really good. Is that really what happened?
Well, Evans, good evening to your listeners. And like I said on the floor of the House, if you come from a home where there is constant chaos and fight and you have a very bad father, when you go to your friend's house and you see a loving father and a caring mother, you don't understand and you can't appreciate it. The NPP comes from a track record of a president who was arbitrary and hard of hearing and did not show compassion to Ghanaians. And so they would not appreciate a father like John Mahama, who is father for all and father for our nation, and few days to Father's Day decides to show clemency. So we can forgive them. I mean, when you come from a broken home, you don't appreciate the value of a complete home.
So you're denying that this was all planned all along?
The NPP was in government barely 6 months ago. The Honorable Afenyomakin has just explained to you, and don't forget, Afenyomakin used to sit in cabinet because he was majority leader at the time. He's just exposed to Ghanaians the gimmicks that the NPP subjected us to for 8 years.
On this subject, though, did you discuss with the president at all that you plan to shut them down?
Yes, we did.
So if you knew then, why didn't he stop you?
Because the president is a respecter of law. And when he allowed us to proceed on it, he took a decision when we started enforcement that said, let's allow another 30 days. Because don't forget, there was a lot of calls going back and forth once the shutdown started around 8 a.m. this morning. And so the president reached out and said, you know what, let's give them further room. He says, for the avoidance of any doubt, so that people do not wake up and say this is a clamp down on media freedoms. Because, Evans, in some of the instances, the NCA wrote to the defaulting agencies in 2022. Wontumi. Because, and I'm making specific reference to Wontumi because the minority made it a case. The minority leader, Afenyomakin, made reference to Wontumi on the floor of the House. Wontumi was written to in December 2022. Written to again in February 2023. Sam George was not minister at the time. Fianco was not director general at the time. And so if today, a media house that was written to in 2022 ignored it because they felt that their principal was a highly connected person in that government, ignored the regulator in 2023 again, and in 2025, the regulator is carrying out enforcement, how does anybody call this a witch hunt? Evans, we're speaking on a network, on a platform, radio platform, like Asase. Asase was affected as well. And I'm making reference to these two because they were singled out by the minority leader in his submission. I could take you through all the multiple stations that were affected, but he spoke to two, and that's why I want to address them. Someone who is very connected with Asase, Mr. Gabriel Tredako, did a post admitting that Asase ought to have renewed in October, but only renewed in December. But let's even be clear about that. Asase did not need to renew in October. Their license expired in October. And the law is clear. You must renew your license 90 days, before 90 days, before the expiration of the license. So if the license expires in October, it then means October, September, and August. It means that by July, you must have made your indication to the NCA that you would reapply or for renewal. If you waited for September or August, that would have been within the 90 days. Even in that time, per the law, your application will not be considered a renewal. In their case, instead of renewing in July, they only came to renew and they were granted on the 29th of December 2024. So was it a case that media houses affiliated with the NPP were flouting the law and disregarding the regulator simply because they were connected to power? And only after they lost the election, they decided to then rush to try and start the process and not complete the process? These are questions we must ask. And if Joy and other media houses like you, who have not been covered by these infractions, have stood on the law, obeyed the law, and been good corporate citizens, should we say that because of freedom of the media, We should shut down the regulator and allow everybody to misbehave the way those who have suffered these breaches have misbehaved.
And very finally, since the president knew about this before it happened, fair to assume then that his reversal was down to the backlash that this decision received?
In fact, I think that there's been more backlash for the reversal. In fact, the public and the media fraternity is happy with what we're doing. Because you see, Evans, it speaks to impunity that when I did the first phase of the shutdowns 3 months ago, 6 stations were shut down. That was enough signal to erring entities to have immediately gone to the regulator. But because they are recalcitrant, they decided to call the bluff of the regulator. Today we've done 62 or 64. We've been asked to reverse and give them grace period. We've given 30 days. In 30 days, we will clamp down on anyone who has not obligated the law. Because, Evans, we don't live, even in the jungle, there are laws of nature that apply. People cannot abuse the laws of our land.
You agree, talking about laws, you agree that the president had no authority to reverse the decision of the NCA?
Well, the president directed the ministry. He has the power to direct the ministry. He directed the ministry to engage the regulator for clemency. The president, within his executive powers, can give direction to the minister. The minister also can issue policy directives to the regulator. That's why when you read the president's statement, his directive was not to the regulator. His directive was to the minister. And the minister has also complied. I appeared before Parliament and complied with the directive of the president and gave policy direction to the regulator. We are a law-abiding party led by a law-abiding president who is caring and who has given the erring and recalcitrant media houses a fantastic Father's Day gift. The least they can do is say their gratitude to a good father.
Sam George, I'm grateful. That is the communications minister there. And right after business, I have good news for you because members of parliament on the health committee, they are optimistic that there is an end in sight as far as that strike by the nurses and midwives are concerned. But George first, the business.
When you mentioned good news, I thought it would be another Father's Day gift to us.
Okay, that could be a Father's Day gift from the MPs.
From the president.
You want one?
I want one. From His Excellency John Mahama. Not yet, but maybe he can still do something for me. Okay. President, good evening. Well, coming up in business, agric workers expect strong performance of the sector to impact prices on the market and inflation from next month. And IMF describes once the levy on petroleum product as prudent because of its impact on reducing the sector's debt. The business news on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business. Kingdom Books and Stationery, your number one-stop shop for all your office essentials. Sinter Tanks and Pepsodent, Herbal and Charcoal.
Who had a spunky new office to congratulate him on opening his business. And man, was I impressed. The business is just moving quick. The sales, customers, everything is just working seamlessly. The secret? He said,
it's MTN Business Broadband. In this fast-paced environment, we need fast and reliable internet to support all business types. No laggy online meetings, great download and upload speeds, impeccable business management systems, all inclusive. I mean, you can have it all.
Sharp! I signed on immediately.
To enable your business stay ahead and stay connected, make sure you're signed on to the best internet made just for businesses. MTN Business Broadband. Sign up today on broadband.mtn.com.gh and manage your account on my MTN app. Call 0244-308-111 for more information. We are good together everywhere you go.
Son, we are so proud of you for setting up this hospital. I really love those hospital beds and waiting chairs. By the way, did you import them?
No, Dad, I didn't. I actually got them from Kingdom Books and Stationery right here in Ghana.
Wow. We also bought our office supplies, safes, executive desks and chairs from Kingdom, and they gave us expert advice on how to set up our office.
Guys, that makes 3 of us. I also got our sofa and bedroom sets, plus our dining hall furniture for our new home from Kingdom.
Wow, Mom, that makes 4 of us. I usually get my stationery items from Kingdom.
Kingdom. And my teacher also mentioned that our classroom furniture was provided by Kingdom.
So there you have it. Whenever you're thinking about setting up an office or acquiring furniture for your home, etc., Kingdom Books and Stationery should be your first point of call. With over 40 years experience in the industry, we stock and supply a wide variety of globally sourced office and home furniture, stationery and equipment. Visit our head office, Osu Akwaje, or our office near the Osu Stadium. We're also in Tema Community 1, opposite Olam SHS, Kumasi KNUST Campus, UCC Cape Coast, and now at the Marina Mall, Airport City. Or call us 0302 764101, 764209, or 762792. Visit our website www.kingdomgh.com.
Brush your teeth every day and night. Up and down and all around. Brush the feeling bright. Brush your teeth. Brush with mom and dad. Underneath and in between. Brush the germs away.
Pepsodent, cavity protection.
For dental stronger teeth.
This advert is FDA approved.
Hey, Jenny Yamsa. And you stay soft concentrate fabric softener. I was such it move. You're sending this say, but you hear my tina watch it. New Yanets now watch it. No, be a baby, someone some demoni in us. Jenny Yamsa. Fair quiet, yes, in Beer Association Ontario. Use Stay Soft and New Yanets now watch it. Nani boss to tap from cry. A fabric softener. And you near say, sir. Choose to Stay Soft. No, so say, you know. FDID a garden crack to Yatu.
Sasso, sasso, si come tonton preko. Sasso, sasso, si come tonton preko. Edrana drami ne buseshe. Ye hakesia ne malaria. Minya me pone me sasso spray. Every mosquito standing run away. Come on, tonton preko. Sasso, sasso, mi se come tonton preko. Come on, tonton preko. Sasso, come tonton preko. Nani shamne die demonstranko.
This advert is FDA approved.
You're welcome back to Business on Newsnight. Now, I expect prices of some foodstuffs on the market to start dropping by some significant margin from next month. Now, this is because of the strong performance and pickup in production of foodstuffs from April, that is from the agri sector, will start impacting the market. On the sector, for the first time in a long while, posted the highest growth of 6.6% compared to other sectors like services and industry. Let's hear from Edward Karewa. He's the former General Secretary of the General Agricultural Workers Union.
It takes time for major sectors like this, when they begin to recover, to bring about the effect that will go with it. You know, it's like when you plant, you know, you increase your production. You cannot immediately benefit from the output, but it will be realized in the future. So the impact on prices would soon come, but around this time, June, July, you will now begin to see prices will come down. Mind you, prices of foodstuffs is not only mainly about fiscal production. It also has to do with other linkages, which people would link it to the dollar, city dollar relationship. Now that all those factors are being aligned, then certainly if you go to the marketplace, prices will begin to come down.
Edward Karewa is the former General Secretary of the General Agricultural Workers Union. The IMF has described as prudent decision by government to increase the energy sector levy on each litre of petroleum product. The president last week approved the bill seeking to place 1 cedi on each litre of petroleum products. Now, the move was part of efforts to deal with challenges in purchasing fuel for power production. But speaking at a news conference in Washington, D.C., USA, Director of Communications, Julie Kojo, noted that this is expected to impact positively on checking the sector's high energy sector debts.
And on the fuel levy, what I can say is that this is a new measure that will help generate additional resources to tackle the challenges in Ghana's energy sector, and it's also going to bolster Ghana's ability to deliver on the fiscal objectives under the program.
And that is Julie Kozak. She is the Director of Communications at the International Monetary Fund, speaking at a new conference in Washington, D.C., USA. The Chamber of Oil Marketers, on the other hand, have argued that going ahead to implement this levy will see the average price of petrol move from 11 cedis to 13 Ghana cedis. Now, the Ghana Revenue Authority is looking at implementing this levy from June 16, 2025.
Ghana Exports
Now, the Ghana Export Promotion Authority is stepping up efforts to help small businesses tap into the export markets abroad. Now, speaking at the 2025 roadshow or the IATF Intra-Africa Trade Fair, Chief Executive Francis Kojo said partnerships are the ongoing is seen as a game changer to scale up support for small businesses to tap into the African market.
Ghana Exports Promotion Authority, which I head, is working assiduously to push the AFTA agenda through actions that promote Ghana's trade with African countries. Ghana's journey at the Intra-African Trade Fair has been one of excellence and verifiable impact. Since its inception in Cairo, Egypt in December 2018, the IATF has been a powerful platform for African countries to showcase products.
And that is the Chief Executive of the Ghana Export Promotion Authority, Francis Kojo Kwating. Now, the new Chief Executive of Kokobo, Dr. Andy Abe, has revealed that he is open to bring the firm back onto some strong footing by 2028. This follows revelation that Kokobo is now saddled with some huge debts running into 33 billion Ghana cedis, as well as some questionable contracts running into $44 billion. Now, Dr. Abe is optimistic that measures currently being put in place could fast-track this recovery.
First, the scenarios we did, the initial one, because I wanted to have a clean picture, and so did the projections. The projections were going to be over a 4-year period, clear everything. But like I'm saying, our projections have been thrown overboard by the CD, so we are reworking it. And then when we redo it, we'll be able to have a clear picture. But there's nothing like being able to pay the debt in a year or two. What we intend doing, and what I believe we will do, is that any contracts that we sign, any agreement that we enter into, we will pay for it. So we will not worsen the situation. So any contracts that we make, we will pay for them, whilst we also see how we can retire the existing one.
Now, Dr. Randy Abe is the new Chief Executive of Kokobo to the stock market. If you are a shareholder of Mensah Oil Palm Plantation today, each share that you're holding was up by 5 pesos to close at 34 Ghana cedis, 25 pesos. And Evans on PM Express Business Edition live in studio as the economic advisor to the President, Seth Thekbe. He's joining us as you talk about the Ghana cedi, financing Ghana's sector debts, and even development on the labor front and how we can effectively deal with it. And even the argument that it could cost us some 2 billion Ghana cedis if they should heed to the request of these registered nurses, and what has government got to say about it and all those things. So these are the issues. In studio with me, the economic advisor to the President, 9 p.m. on Joy News and all our social media platforms.
Uncle Seth. I'm looking forward to that.
All right.
Join George and Uncle Seth on, I don't know why I'm calling him Uncle Seth.
He has a Father's Day gift for you.
That's what we always call it. On PMS later tonight at 9 p.m. Let's do sports now. Emma's back here.
Yeah, Ivan, so we are now some 99 days to the 2026 World Cup, which will be taking place in USA, Mexico, and Canada. 99 days to go, and Ghana is yet to qualify for the tournament. Well, Ghana is sitting atop their qualifying group on 15 points and 4 matches remaining. Now, one of the players who impressed Coach Otuado at the recent Unity Cup is Christopher Barbons, who is a 20-year-old who plays for Genk, and he's been speaking about the team's chances as far as qualifying for the World Cup is concerned. He's very confident. He says that he's 100% sure that the team will qualify for the World Cup, and Ghana will be there in 98 days from now.
Yeah, I think not for only me, for my family and for the nation, everyone, because Ghana qualifying to the World Cup is something big for the nation. Not only us, but every country, when you hear or when you see like you are in the World Cup, is something big for everyone. So I think it will mean a lot for us. We are 100% confident that we are going to qualify. For me, I think it's every player's dream to be part of the national team squad to the World Cup. But as I said, when you focus on those things, you cannot perform. You just have to trust the process one after the other. Now I go to my club and I focus on my club and I give all to my club, and we'll see what will come next.
Yeah, well, he's very exciting talent whom Tuado will be looking to rely on for the remaining matches, the remaining 4 matches, as far as the World Cup qualification is concerned. But he's been speaking to my colleague Adamu Benin Abdul Karim in an exclusive, which will air tomorrow at 6:30 a.m. and also at 8:30 p.m. So you can make a date there. And even just finally, though, the Club World Cup is starting on Sunday, and teams have started to arrive in Milan, Paris Saint-Germain, and the likes are all arriving, and there's going to be some Ghanaian presence there at the FIFA Club World Cup. 3 Ghanaian players will be playing at the tournament. No. 3 Ghanaian players will be playing there. Edmond Beidou plays for Red Bull Salzburg. They are participating in the tournament. Yao Yeboah also plays for Los Angeles in the USA. They also be participating. And Samuel Oben Jaba, he plays for Wydad Casablanca. They will also be participating. So we'll keep an eye on them and see how they will fare.
Ms. Bal, thank you very much. And I'm Chairman of Parliament's Health Committee, Mark Nawani, and Ranking Member Dr. Nana Uefrie are cautiously optimistic about the potential resolution to the ongoing nationwide nurses and midwives strike following an extensive meeting between the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association leadership and the Health Committee. Both parliamentarians expressed hope for a positive outcome. Speaking to journalists in Parliament, Dr. Uefrie described the meeting as fruitful.
Committee. We were joined by the majority leader. All the stakeholders that we invited were here. We had a very fruitful deliberation with the nurses. The nurses are going to have a session with their council, and we are hopeful for a good news. There's no other news again. We are done. Thank you.
Well, Chairman of the committee, Mark Nawani, says they are hopeful the striking nurses and midwives will return to work sooner than later.
If the Busapeni is to send you to go and lead a discussion, you have to bring back the information to them first before any other issue can come out. So at this juncture, I know that you want some information more than this, but let's just exercise patience.
Do you get the indication that they will call it off? If you get the indication.
No comment. No comment now. No comment now.
If you join us at 7 p.m. on the Joy News channel for Joy News Prime, you'll get the very latest on this particular subject, because we'll be speaking to the GRNA themselves. Will they indeed call off their strike after the meeting today with the leadership of the Health Committee in Parliament? Now, for years, they have lived in a cycle of fear and uncertainty, sleeping and waking to the sound of crashing waves, not knowing if the sea will claim more of their land. In Ketu South, Keta and Anglo districts, communities have long battled the encroaching tides, a fight made harder by the unforgiving hand of climate change. As part of the Joy News German Embassy climate talks, our next stop is Keta, the heart of Ghana's coastal struggle and resilience. MFA Tiamwa Eli has been speaking to residents and local leaders as we focus on promoting indigenous knowledge in coastal resilience.
Twice a year, they brace for impacts, enduring weeks of flooding that uproot homes, destroy livelihoods, and deepen despair. Today, hundreds remain displaced, climate refugees in their own homeland. But in the face of adversity, how are these coastal communities adapting? How resilient are they? And what traditional knowledge are they drawing on to protect their future?
What strategy are we going to use to protect ourselves from the sea? The best thing is the brick. You see, it's the only brick can protect it. Nothing again. There's nothing. Are you going to use branches, coconut branches, to protect yourself along the seabed? No. The best thing is the brick. But here is the case. The sea doesn't want even to see the brick at all. It breaks all every time into pieces.
This problem started all the way back in 2021. So up to now, you can see the number of people who are rendered homeless. Yet, whatever they are calling for, that the sea defense project should continue, doesn't continue. So I will talk about thousands of people who are rendered homeless without any help. When you talk about relocation, we would not relocate anybody in Agavaji community, well as the Asalakope and then Amochino. So people, whatever we are doing is that to talk to them, to sleep with their neighbors. And that alone will not solve the problem.
Meet Togbe Emmanuel Anum Tete, Chief Fisherman of Salakope, a coastal community in the Ketu South District. His surroundings paint a haunting picture of the devastation caused by sea erosion and tidal waves. The structure behind him once served as home to his extended family of 30. Today, 99% of that home has been swallowed by the sea, reduced to memories now buried beneath the waves.
In my household here, we are about plus or minus 30. Our survival, since this started, I mentioned it already, we survive by the help of people outside and our children outside. We are being helped. Nobody know nothing because we can't fish anymore. We are fisher folks. That's the main occupation here. There are a lot of debris. That's the building, broken building in the sea. You can't use the net again. Today, very fortunately, as you are coming, in the morning, come here, come and see fish. Very close here. This morning, to call for an action is the president to intervene. They have to come quickly as soon as possible and dredge the sea for us to be stable. The sea will be stable. As soon as they dredge it, it will be stable. It won't come anywhere again, forever and ever, until we die.
Well aware of the growing impact of climate change, we ask, have they considered any strategies to make their homes more resilient? After all, this home and resettlement, at least for now, is not an option they are willing to consider. Togbe shares his thoughts.
Nature is something you can't fight. What can we do to prevent the intervention of nature? Nature, whatsoever he planned to do, that's what it does. We couldn't have any plan. You see, our plan we normally talk about is we need to go across the lagoon. We are between the lagoon and the sea. We needed to be allocated at the other side of the lagoon, the other bank. But my sister and brothers, I'm telling you, that place is very worse because it's also waterlogged. You can't build there. You'll be swimming like a fish before you enter your room. It's better we stay here and the sea come and take us away.
That indeed is a powerful story, and this is all part of our build-up into our Climate Talks latest conversation tomorrow, promoting indigenous knowledge in coastal resilience. It is coming to you live from the Keita municipality itself. We're going to be at the College of Nursing and Midwifery, Keita Volta region, and it's going to be one of the most impactful conversations on climate change because it's going to be live from the area. You see the devastation in real time. We're going to be flying drones. You want to join us on the Joy News channel? It's going to be live here also on the Joy News channel. If you check our many social media platforms, you can watch this live, dealing with the real life impact of climate change. And we are very grateful to the Embassy of the Federal Republic of Germany for partnering us to make this reality. My colleague Leslie Soga will be leading the team on the ground to bring that conversation tomorrow. It is at 10 a.m. You don't want to miss it. Enjoy the rest of your evening.